The hip-hop world is spinning on its head right now, because Drake, the polished, calculated, untouchable golden boy of the last decade, just walked into what might be the biggest loss of his entire career. And no, it didn't come from a diss. It came straight from a courtroom. After months of legal tug-of-war sparked by Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us earthquake, Drake's attempt to sue for defamation has officially blown up in the worst way possible. What started as a bold move to protect his image has unraveled into a messy, public meltdown that's not just bruising his reputation in rap, but exposing how fragile his whole empire becomes the second it steps outside the comfort of a studio. This lawsuit was supposed to be Drake's grand power play, the statement that he wasn't going to let Kendrick's cultural haymakers define him. But the moment he dropped paperwork claiming the song was defamatory, insiders froze. Hip-hop beef has always been vicious, but there's one rule everyone respects: handle it on the mic. From Nas and Jay-Z to 50 and Ja Rule, the tradition has always been lyrical warfare, not legal warfare. So when Drake dragged lawyers into what's usually a battle of bars, he didn't just break tradition. He broke trust with the culture that built him. Fans didn't see confidence. They saw someone who couldn't take the heat. And now that choice is coming back to bite him hard. The defamation case, meant to scare Kendrick's camp and anyone repeating those claims, has now triggered two brutal counter-lawsuits, tearing Drake's entire strategy apart. The first, filed by reps tied to the Not Like Us distribution chain, accuses him of wasting the court's time with a frivolous lawsuit meant to censor art. The second, brought by legal and cultural advocacy groups, accuses him of trying to suppress free expression. And the wildest part? How fast it all snowballed. Less than 3 weeks after Drake's team filed the initial claim, Chatter Online revealed that multiple legal groups were gearing up to respond, not to defend Kendrick specifically, but to defend artistic freedom itself. The backlash was instant. Loud. Unavoidable. Hip-hop veterans, entertainment lawyers, everyone jumped in. Drake's long-running reputation as a cultural opportunist suddenly became legal evidence. The irony couldn't be sharper. The rapper accused of manufacturing authenticity was now being accused of manufacturing victimhood. And the fallout is bigger than any lawsuit. This moment has shifted how the culture sees Drake. The lawsuit turned him from a heavyweight MC into a punchline, someone who can drop platinum albums but can't handle a real diss without calling a lawyer. Not Like Us already torched his image musically, but the legal consequences are shredding what's left morally. The world is watching an empire built on control and charm crack under the weight of its own ego. And the more Drake tries to tighten his grip, the worse it gets. The fallout from this gamble has hit a level of chaos no one expected. What started as an attempt to shut down a song has turned into a full-blown public humiliation campaign aimed right back at the artist who once prided himself on staying in control. People inside the industry are calling this the biggest legal backfire hip-hop has ever seen. Every move Drake's team makes sparks another, louder clapback from lawyers and cultural leaders. The narrative that once painted him as the victim of lyrical slander has flipped completely. Now he's the aggressor, the celebrity trying to police artistry and silence competition. The first countersuit, the one accusing him of frivolous litigation, claims Drake's defamation case never had any real legal foundation. Lawyers representing music and distribution entities called it an abuse of the judicial system, a tactic designed to intimidate artists and choke creative freedom. The translation is simple. Drake ran to the courts because he couldn't win in the studio. And that hits the core of hip-hop's values: expression, competition, and authenticity. Even if Drake pulls off some kind of technical win, the damage to his name is done. Nobody wants to hear a rapper brag about being real when he's suing over lyrics. The second countersuit is even harsher. Filed by free speech advocates and industry watchdog groups, it accuses Drake of trying to set a dangerous precedent, one where artists could be punished for creative commentary. It highlights how Not Like Us uses metaphor, satire, and historical framing to make its point. By suing, Drake challenged the right of rappers to use their art to comment on culture, opening a Pandora's box that threatens the freedom hip-hop was built on. The legal jargon might be thick, but the message is clear. Drake tried to bend the rules, and now the rules are bending him. And the timing couldn't be worse. For months, fans have been mocking Drake for how badly he handled the Kendrick situation. Instead of sharp bars or clever comebacks, he leaned on theatrics, holograms, subliminals, and now lawsuits. Every attempt to control the narrative made him look weaker as Not Like Us dominated the charts. He could have stepped into competition, dropped a real rebuttal, and revived that battle spirit. Instead, he ran to the legal system, something completely out of place in a genre built on pride and principle. And now the legal mess is bleeding into his business world. UMG, his longtime label partner, has reportedly stepped in behind the scenes to contain the situation, because this isn't just cultural fallout anymore. It's corporate. Sources say executives were blindsided by how fast this case collapsed and how quickly it turned toxic for the label's image. And in a wild twist, rumors are now swirling that UMG quietly pushed Drake to pull the filings just to stop the bleeding. But by the time that pressure hit, it was too late. The story had already escaped into the public, and Drake's quiet retreat said everything without him saying a thing. The world didn't see strength. It saw a white flag. In the court of public opinion, he'd already taken the hit. These lawsuits might look like piles of paperwork on the surface, but to fans and peers, they symbolize something much bigger. A cultural betrayal. Hip-hop has had legendary battles, but nobody ever tried to lawyer their way out of one. What Drake did wasn't just embarrassing. It was historic. He turned himself into the cautionary tale of what happens when ego gets louder than authenticity. The rejection of Drake's legal stunt has been swift and unforgiving. Across the culture, artists, producers, and fans are treating it as the final proof that he's drifted far from the principles that once made him a force. Legends like 50 Cent, The Game, and even younger voices like Joey Badass have reportedly thrown shade, all echoing the same message: you don't file a lawsuit to escape a beef. Hip-hop respects competition, not paperwork. So when Drake grabbed documents instead of dropping a diss, he became the mascot for everything wrong with hyper-controlled celebrity culture: polished, calculated, and scared of real risk. And the outrage isn't just about the lawsuit. It's about what it represents. In a genre built on raw honesty, Drake's move screams insecurity. Kendrick's Not Like Us didn't just diss him, it framed him as a manufactured product pretending to be an artist. And when Drake answered with legal threats instead of lyrical smoke, it felt like confirmation. He proved Kendrick's point without Kendrick saying another word. Even longtime fans admit this might be the most un-hip-hop move a mainstream star has ever made. Meanwhile, the public has turned relentless. Social feeds are drowning in memes, jokes, threads, and takedowns, all dissecting Drake's fall from every angle. Commentators are calling it the biggest cultural miscalculation of his entire career. Instead of steering the narrative, he became the story, the rapper who folded under a diss and tried to fight with lawyers instead of lyrics. The irony cuts deep. Drake spent years shaping an image of flawless control, the guy who could glide through chaos without ever touching the mess. Now he looks like an outsider trying to rewrite rules he never understood. And even inside his own circle, whispers say not everyone backed this plan. Some longtime collaborators allegedly warned him it would blow up in his face, but he pushed ahead anyway. As for his legal team, they're reportedly taking heat for not anticipating how vicious the cultural backlash would be. Their attempt to protect his brand may have hurt it more than anything Kendrick ever rapped. People toss around the phrase career-ending way too easily, but culturally, this moment creeps dangerously close. Drake's music will always sell. But respect, hip-hop's invisible currency, is slipping through his fingers. And the coldest part? Kendrick hasn't said a thing since this exploded. He doesn't have to. His silence hits harder than any punchline. Every headline roasting Drake's legal mess reinforces what Not Like Us already hinted at: Drake's empire looks built on aesthetics, not essence. The more Drake explains, the worse it gets. The more Kendrick stays silent, the wider the gap grows. Behind the scenes, UMG's involvement shows just how catastrophic the situation really is. When a powerhouse like Universal steps in to muzzle its biggest star, it's not strategy, it's survival. Insiders say executives were furious when they learned Drake launched the lawsuit without looping in their legal department. The move blindsided their PR and business units, forcing them into emergency crisis mode. Leadership saw the lawsuit as an impulsive, emotional decision that put the entire company at risk of major cultural backlash. And they were right. Within days, social media had turned on Drake and by extension, the label backing him. The silence that followed wasn't some calculated PR choice. Sources say UMG rushed private meetings with Drake's camp, essentially ordering them to pull every active filing and settle anything behind closed doors. This wasn't just about protecting Drake. It was about protecting UMG's identity as a champion of creative freedom. For a company built on supporting art, having its biggest star accused of trying to silence free speech was a nightmare. The optics were brutal. So UMG stepped in and shut it down. That move marked a real shift in power. For more than a decade, Drake has been UMG's untouchable crown jewel, the hit machine shaping culture with every release. But this fiasco proved even he could be checked when the fallout threatened the company itself. UMG delivered a clear message: enough. Drake's legal overreach didn't just alienate fans, it opened a door that could invite more lawsuits across the industry. If every artist decided to run to court over lyrics, it would destroy the competitive fire that keeps hip-hop alive. What makes UMG's intervention even more revealing is how public the distance has become. Insiders say the label has quietly stepped back from Drake's recent chaos, pulling back on social promotion and shifting their spotlight toward other flagship artists. He's still under contract, sure, but the buzz around his brand has cooled in a way you can actually feel. The legal fiasco flipped him from cultural asset to full-blown liability. Executives who once backed his creative freedom are now reportedly walking on eggshells, watching every move to make sure he doesn't drag them into another disaster. The cultural irony is almost too perfect. Drake spent years shaping an image built on precision, control, and immaculate timing. But the moment he tried to control this narrative, everything slipped: the grip, the credibility, the aura. And the fact that his own label had to step in and shut him down? Pure poetic justice. It shows that even the most powerful artist isn't untouchable when ego starts drowning out artistry. UMG might have cleaned up the legal mess, but they can't erase the stain this left on his legacy. At this point, the Drake vs. UMG situation isn't just a legal complication, it's a cultural turning point. What started as a misguided lawsuit has turned into a masterclass in how not to handle a rap conflict. And the core lesson is simple: authenticity. Hip-hop has always punished anyone who tried to sidestep its code, and Drake's attempt to weaponize the legal system instead of pure lyricism is already being remembered as a betrayal that won't be forgotten anytime soon. The fallout could shadow him for years. And the long-term impact? Already obvious. Other artists are watching this play out, taking mental notes. The message is loud and unmistakable. No platform is too big. No empire is too sturdy. You cannot outmaneuver the culture. Trying to manipulate narratives with force or money will always backfire when authenticity is at stake. Drake's empire was built on dominance and relatability, but this scandal exposed cracks in both. He's no longer untouchable. He's a warning sign, proof that ego and insecurity can shake even the most successful careers. Meanwhile, Kendrick Lamar's position has never looked stronger. Every day Drake stays silent, every rumor about UMG, everything piece dissecting his collapse, it all reinforces Kendrick's message. "You're not like us," he said. And now the culture agrees. The court filings, the countersuits, the public backlash, they all point to the same conclusion. Kendrick fought for the art. Drake fought for the image. And in hip-hop, that difference separates icons from brands. Zoom out, and this whole situation forces the industry to face an uncomfortable truth. The line between art and corporate control is thinner than ever. When business starts dictating culture, authenticity is the first casualty. UMG didn't silence Drake to protect hip-hop. They did it to protect revenue. Yet in the process, they proved the bigger point: even the loudest voices in the culture can be muted when the stakes rise high enough. And the cinematic twist? Drake, the one who tried to silence others, ended up silenced himself. In the end, Drake's legal saga isn't just about losing a case. It's about losing respect, credibility, and connection to the culture that elevated him. His empire might keep thriving commercially, but culturally, the damage is locked in. Hits, tours, streams, none of it deletes this chapter. This is the moment he tried to turn a rap beef into a courtroom fight and ended up proving every critic right. And there it is, the full breakdown of Drake's lawsuit blowback, UMG stepping in to contain the explosion, and why this chapter will go down as the biggest legal embarrassment in hip-hop history. The moment Drake learned the hard way that in this culture, respect can't be defended in court.